You don't feel like a victim.
I was not thrown on the ground and ravished. Which the word rape carries so many sexual connotations. This was not sexual. It hurt. It just,
Well, I think most people think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
Mm. Let's take a short break.
Think of the fantasies.
Mm. We're just going to take a quick break. If you can stick around, we'll talk more on the other side.
You're fascinating to talk to.
Today's video is about the E.jean Carroll case versus former President Donald John Trump, President number 45. So she's having a good old time at Donald Trump's expense, along with piling on and trashy people. There's going to be some graphic depictions about what I think happened. This is my opinion of what I think happened, whatever year that happened, in that Bergdorf Goodman high-end upscale boutique shop in downtown New York City. We'll start with her Twitter feed. This is very disturbing. On May 10th, on my father's birthday, by the way, E.jean Carroll, ladies, may I have a word with you? ? And the biggest caps she could possibly type on the Twitter platform. We won. This tweet got 159,000 likes, 23,000 retweets. Well, that's a lot. But she's got 285,000 followers. And I can tell you right now, they're almost all soccer moms and Karens and everything else. Oh, she retweeted here on April 9th, the peacock showing off. And the peacock is my favorite bird. I'm reading between the lines here, and she's had this thing planned for quite some time. And I'll get to that later, poking the gorilla's tail. So enough of her Twitter feed. So let's start with the Wikipedia page. It's free. Sometimes it's not very accurate, but it's good enough for now. E.jean Carroll. She's an American journalist, author, and a Vice columnist. Wow, she gives advice. Oh, I forgot about that. Her, quote, Ask E.jean column appeared in LA magazine from 1993 to 2019, becoming one of the longest running advice columns in American publishing. In her 2019 book, quote, What Do We Need Men For? A Modest Proposal, end of quote, Carroll accused Les Moonves and Donald Trump of sexually assaulting her in the mid-1990s. Both Moonves and Trump denied the allegations. Carroll subsequently sued Trump in New York Supreme Court for defamation and battery. On May 9th, 2023, a jury found Trump liable for defamation and sexual abuse against Carroll and awarded her $5 million in damages. Carroll was fired from Elle in February 2020. She wrote on Twitter that she was dismissed, quote, because Trump ridiculed my reputation, laughed at my looks, and dragged me through the mud, end of quote. Elle remained that the decision to fire Carroll was a business decision unrelated to Trump. Fire to create the smoke here. Now she has real incentive to go after Donald Trump because she lost her little advice column. This goes on to talk about her. Carroll was known for her gonzo-style first-person narratives. She hiked into the Star Mountains with an at-Ballman Tracker and Telefoman Warrior, chronicled the lives of basketball groupies in the story, quote, Love in the Time of Magic, end of quote. I believe it was about Magic Johnson before he caught AIDS. And went to Indiana to investigate why 4 white farm kids were thrown out of school for dressing like black artists, end quote. The Return of the White Negro, end of quote. She tracked down her old boyfriends and moved in with them and their wives and went on a camping trip with Fran Lebowitz. Jesus. She moved in with her old boyfriends and with their wives. I think it's kind of bizarre. The sexual assault allegations. Well, we start with Les Moonves. Carroll was one of the 13 women who accused CBS Corporation executive Les Moonves of sexual assault in 2019. She says the incident occurred in the late 1990s in a hotel elevator after interviewing Moonves for her story. He denied the allegation. The only thing I can put in here for this video today is I did look into, I remember when this Les Moonves was going on, he was the chief executive of CBS. He got in a lot of trouble because he went after Janet Jackson with the Super Bowl exposure where she flashed the thing with her and that Justin Timberlake spiel. And he went after her pretty hard, tried to get her canceled. And Janet Jackson's linked to Michael Jackson, that's her brother, and it's a multi-billion conglomerate, and Michael Jackson was still alive, and there was a lot of money at stake here, and CBS pushed back, and you know who they took up for, and that's all I need to say for this video. That was the beginning of the end of Les Moonves. When we get to the thing about Donald Trump, on June 21st, 2019, Carroll published an article in New York Magazine which stated that Donald Trump had sexually assaulted her in late 1995 or early 1996 in the Bergdorf Goodman department store in New York City. Further details of the alleged incident were published in her book, quote, What Do We Need Men For? A Modest Proposal, end of quote. Before I get to the sentence, and now you can piece together, if you got any common sense and some brains at all, why LA Magazine fired her. And she lost her probably it was her best running gig, her monthly gig that she ever got in her life. And she lost it because of this. Now back to the article. Quote, Carroll said that on her way out of the store, she ran into Trump as he asked her for help buying a gift for a woman. After suggesting the handbag or hat, the two reputedly moved on to the lingerie section and joked about the other guy trying some on. Carroll said they ended up in the dressing room together, the door of which was shut, and Trump forcefully kissed her, pulled down her tights, and raped her before she was able to escape. She stated that the alleged incident lasted less than 3 minutes. Lisa Birnbach and Carol Martin told New York Magazine that Carroll had confided in them shortly after the alleged assault. And that's come into question later. Trump denied the allegations and claimed he had never met Carroll. However, Carroll provided a New York photograph of her socializing with Trump in 1987. Trump dismissed the photograph's significance. Okay, this is not in the Wikipedia article because I guess they didn't want to update it or it's been blocked. But there was a photo that shows Donald Trump's back of his head and e.jean Carroll kind of to the side. Trump was talking to someone else, and her husband, her then husband, she's been married a few times, took the photo, and that was the only photo that she was able to provide as evidence in this trial against Donald Trump. You can read what you will between the lines here. I know what I'm reading between the lines here. I'm looking for facts. I'm not looking for, he said, she said. I want some evidence of this. Back to the article. Quote, Carroll initially chose not to describe the alleged sexual assault as rape, instead of describing it as a fight. Quote, my word is fight. My word is not the victim word. I fought. And that's also very peculiar for a sexual assault victim. In November of 2019, Carroll filed a defamation lawsuit with the New York Supreme Court. And remember, December 2019, it was the year she lost her magazine, her advice column. She started getting rejected for other things. Money stopped coming in. And then the suit states that Trump had damaged her reputation, substantially harmed her professionally, and caused emotional pain. Wow. Carroll stated, quote, decades ago, the now President of the United States raped me. When I had the courage to speak out about the attack, he defamed my character, and he accused me of lying for personal gain, even insulted my appearance. Well, Donald Trump insults everybody. I fail to see how this could be significant in any reason whatsoever. But on November 24th, 2022, Carroll sued Trump for battery in New York under the Adult Survivors Act, a law passed the previous May, so it was passed in May of 2021, which briefly allows sexual assault victims to file civil suits regardless of expired statutes of limitations. Carroll made a renewed claim of defamation, citing statements Trump made in October. In February 2023, Kaplan scheduled the trial date for April 25th. Kaplan is a Bill Clinton-appointed judge. Kaplan voted for Hillary, and he voted for Obama twice, and he admitted that he voted for Joe Biden. So this is a biased lawyer. He's pushing 80. On April 13th, 2023, Carroll disclosed that part of her legal expenses were funded by Reid Hoffman, a co-founder of LinkedIn, venture capitalist, and donor to the Democratic Party. But what's not put in this Wikipedia page is he's a real big Trump hater. On May 9th, 2023, a jury of 6 men and 3 women found Trump liable for sexual assault, battery, and defamation. On the issue of rape, the jury found that Carroll had not proved by a preponderance of the evidence that Trump had raped her. Carroll was awarded $5 million in damages. Shortly after, Trump filed an appeal with the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. For the length of this video, I need you to put aside your opinion of Donald Trump. We're going to play some parts here of, these are her words, okay? e.jean Carroll's own words, okay? And I'm going to play it for you on the video here. And notice how Anderson Cooper keeps trying to call for a break, and he just stopped this madness.
Today, it's also part of a larger and more troubling story of collective indifference. Somehow, and we'll explore the reasons why, the fact that the president has been accused 14 other times of unwanted sexual advances or outright sexual assault has numbed people to just how abnormal this is, these kind of accusations. When Bill Clinton was accused 2 decades ago, it shook the country. Well, now the country shrugs as if one allegation is an outrage, but 15 are a statistic, even though he's on tape boasting about being able to get away with such assaults because he's a celebrity, even when, as in this case, the alleged assault is corroborated by 2 other people that she told at the time, back in the mid-90s. That's when writer and Elle magazine advice columnist e.jean Carroll says this happened in a dressing room at the New York clothing store Bergdorf Goodman, just steps away from Trump Tower. She writes about it and other painful encounters in her book, What Do We Need Men For? A Modest Proposal.
I'm so good. This was 20 years ago. And I probably was, at that moment, in that 5 minutes, the most attractive woman in Bergdorf's in that one bit of time.
And you think that's what it was about for him?
I don't know what it was about. Anderson, we were having a high old time. You remember Donald Trump, hail fellow, well met, walking up and down the streets of New York, greeting everybody. Everybody liked him.
You're talking about 1995,
96. He was Shakespearean. He was great. You'd love to see him on the street. So when we met in Bergdorf's and he said, help me, advise me to find a president, I was delighted. I was thrilled. I thought, this is hilarious.
I'm wondering, the statement that he said, which he's just made, which is, she's not my type, number one, that was the number one thing.
I love that I'm not his type. He also called Miss Universe fat. Miss Piggy, I think he called her. Miss Universe, one of the most beautiful women in the solar system, and he called her fat. Don't even mention his name. I mentioned his name once in the book. Once.
So you say you were in Bergdorf Goodman.
I was coming out of Bergdorf's.
Which was a store I heard you liked a lot.
It's a posh and cozy.
Your whole face lights up when you talk about Bergdorf Goodman, by the way.
I was just there today.
Okay.
I just loved it. So I was coming out. And he was coming in, he was standing out, and he put his hand like this. So I did not go through the revolving door. He came in, he said, hey, you're that advice lady. And I said, hey, you're that real estate tycoon. He said, come advise me. I want to buy a present. I said, oh, for who? He said, for a girl. So I was enchanted. It was such a great moment.
Uh-huh.
So how about the handbags? Oh, no, he doesn't want a handbag. Well, how about a hat? So he strolls to the...
And had you met him prior
once,
to that?
Just once, briefly. There's a picture.
That's where the photo of with
my ex-husband and he with his ex-wife. It's a very nice.
Which, by the way, he had said he's never even met you previously. Obviously, the picture which we have, tells a different story.
So we went to the hats, and he immediately grabbed a fur hat. Of course. So he asked. I said, "How old is the young lady?" And he said, "How old are you?" And I said, 52. And he said, you're so old.
He said that?
Of course. He said, you're so old. And shortly after that, he said, I know, lingerie. Or he could have said underwear. And so we went up the escalator. We went to the lingerie department. It was empty. There was nobody there. There was nobody on the whole floor, frankly. I think you go through bathing suits and cruisewear, and the store was not popular at the time. Nobody was there on the counter.
That's going to sound strange to people that nobody was in the...
Because Bergdorf's is the greatest store on the earth. They take care of whatever you want, they're there. If you're thirsty, they'll bring you water. They'll get you whatever. They'll call all over the country to get whatever you want. It was a moment in time. Nobody was there. Plus, a dressing room door was open, which is very unusual because usually they're locked, and the attendant comes and locks it, escorts you in. It's okay. So on the
so
counter,
he said lingerie because he said he wanted you to help him pick out some lingerie.
Well, it can't because he was not having it with the hats.
Okay.
The hats were okay. So then we went up. He was going to get some lingerie, and I am just like, oh, well, I can dine out forever on this story. We're going to go get lingerie.
You say you go up to the lingerie department and no one is around.
And there are 2 or 3 boxes on the counter. The fancy, remember the old-fashioned lingerie boxes, and a filmy see-through bodysuit in lilac gray. And he snatches it up and he says, go try this on. I said, you try it on. He said, no, it looks like it fits you. I said, it goes with your eyes. He said, no, go put this on. And Anderson...
So at this point, you're saying it's a
we're
friendly... Joshing.
I used to be a writer at Saturday Night Live. I see an entire sketch of making Donald Trump put this filmy thing over his pants. That is what I'm thinking. I am not thinking, I think it's, I was laughing as I said it. He said, well, he went like this. And I walked in stupidly.
So for you, this was kind of a New York moment. Like one of those
best just like the best New York. Donald Trump is going to put on a filmy bodysuit. It's like, oh, I couldn't. So let's go in the dressing room. I thought, yeah, I'm going to make him put pants on. Walked in, and the minute I was in there, he shut the door and pushed me up against the wall and bang my head on the wall and kissed me. It was so shocking. I couldn't. Of course, I started laughing again because...
You started laughing?
Of course.
Why? Why, of course?
Because it was a way of... If it was at all erotic in his part, it would... If a man is laughed at, it usually will make him... and he put his shoulder against me to hold me against the wall. And at that point, I realized that I was in a very difficult situation.
Did he say anything?
No. It was just like, we're going to do this thing. We're just so hot for each other. Why would I even try to think what he was thinking? Anyway, so he pushed me, held me with his shoulder, and I was wearing a coat dress and tights, and he pulled down the tights. And so that's
he pulled it with both hands, with one hand.
One. And that was when it turned serious. I realized that this was a fight. And even though I can talk about it now and put words to it, at the time the adrenaline is pouring through me, and all I want to do is right.
How would you describe? What were you? You said you were obviously surprised, fighting. Right. Were you scared? Were you angry?
I was too panicked to be scared.
Too panicked, scared. Okay.
You
said adrenaline was pumping.
I assume it was,
okay,
because I got strong enough. He's 6'3". Apparently, I've looked it up. I was about 6'1" in the massive heels I was wearing, and so we were almost even in height. And down go the tights, and it was against my will, and it hurt, and it was a fight.
And this is not a question I would normally ask, and if you don't want to answer, I totally understand. But given the prior accusations, which have all been of forms of assault or harassment, you're saying there was actual penetration?
Yes.
Did you, which puts it into a different category of any of the other women who have come forward? I think that is the definition of rape. One definition.
That's the definition. Yes.
There's a statute of limitations for reasons. Whether he did it or not has nothing to do with this video, has nothing to do with what's going on here. They created this law from the New York State Legislature to only target Donald Trump, to damage him for the 2024 election. And I hope you people can see through this shit, because that's exactly what this is.